Yo, how's everybody doing? This is True Crypto 28 on Twitter, Mr. Anderson. I'm coming back with a follow-up video to the last video that I did, which was finding edge with the indicator True Vibration 2.0, in which we focused on the tool called Full Vibration within that particular video. And I said I was going to make another one that would blow some people's minds, where we talk about finding extra edge as it relates to really just finding the right assets to follow. It's not about perfection or anything along those lines, but understanding that, hey, we can follow the right assets, and if we get the signals that we want, we're going to have a much better return based on the fact that we were a little bit smarter in the way we did our research, right? So we're going to talk about that specifically, of how we can accomplish that. With that said, I do have a sponsor for this particular video, which is Prime XBT. I do want to give a shout out to them, give them some thanks as well, because first of all, they're very cool to work with. They don't tell you, hey, you got to say X, Y, and Z. I'm not one that likes to peddle things on people. I like to tell people what something has, what it offers, and let them make their own decisions, essentially. And with any exchange, I do tell people, like, look, do your own research. Make sure you understand it. Make sure you understand the fees, the funding, different things of that nature, and that you're comfortable with it. But Prime is very popular in that, first of all, they will give you a 50% trading account bonus. If you've already gotten that bonus, just simply form a new account. Do not put, no matter who you are, do not put your phone number in the registration. This way you don't have to worry about things like VPN or are you in the States or anything along those lines. I have nothing to do with that. You guys make your own decisions on where you sign up and what you do, but I'm just letting you know that if you leave that part out, none of that comes into play to begin with, and I get that question all the time, so I'm asking. So I'm telling you, but ultimately I'll have this link in the description for you as well that you can click on. Then you just go into, after you sign up for an account, you're going to go ahead and put in True Crypto, and that will allow you to get up to 50% trading account bonus. What does that mean? You deposit $10,000, they'll give you $5,000 in your trading account to trade with as well. You put in one Bitcoin, you can do more of a deposit, but one would be the max for the bonus itself. So with Bitcoin around 60,000, that would be about a $30,000 trading account bonus, which is significant. I do tell people that the good thing about Prime is that they do have a lot of different types of assets, which is cool. They are a crypto to crypto type exchange, but you also have Forex and other CFDs as well. And most of the people that I've seen that do like to trade on that particular platform do like to do a lot of day trades and things of that nature, but it's completely up to you and your approach, etc. And I know a lot of people like the fact that they have a variety of assets. Now, the other big thing that they do have is the co-vesting, which is basically a copy trade system, which allows you to go in and see how someone's been doing. And if you want to put some money to work, you can go ahead and copy their trades. So give them a look, see if it works for you ultimately. And again, I thank them for their time. I'll move on to the point of this particular video. I actually made this video before, which is hilarious because of the fact that I had not only was I recording the wrong thing, meaning I didn't have this screen on, I had a different screen, but I also had some small issue with the sound, which hopefully it's fixed. If not, we're going to run with this on either way. So some of this I already have marked off because I just made this video a few minutes ago. But that's okay. Not the end of the world. What are we focused on today? True Vibration does not look like this, right? So for anyone that knows True Vibration, it has a different look, but of course you can customize it however you want. But the standard one looks more along that line. It has different features. It has daily long pivots. It has a feature called the Directional Bias Indicator, which tells you in which direction you should choose. You can do that on multiple time frames. You can do divergence. There's literally just an endless amount of options that you can utilize to find edge. But today, I eliminated some of this just for a visual purpose, because all I want you to see is FSR, which is the leading indicator within the entire construct of True Vibration, which has not only a momentum element, but a time-specific element. You don't need to understand that element. Just understand that time, I assure you, is more important than price. When time is ready, price will then move, right? So that's just basically how it works. But ultimately, trying to find and identify that timing is what I feel is the most important or key element to working smarter, right? And you won't always get it. You get it wrong. The whole idea is protect yourself, use your stops, ultimately protect your money first above all else. But what I'm going to show you is going to have tremendous edge to it, and you're going to be pretty shocked. Now, this other level right now, this other line, which is a pink line on this particular screen, that thick pink one is called Full Vibration. That's a leading full vibration. It is the most important of all of the indicators in this True Vibration, in my opinion. And what it can do will blow your mind, right? So there's another video that we just did a couple weeks ago, which will talk about this 50 line. So I'll reference that a little bit. and just talk about how we can trade utilizing the above and below 50 level, rising and falling with true vibration, with full vibration. Now, I would advise you to watch that video when the time came. I'm going to just kind of jump into the point of this video and tell you the context first and foremost, right? So what is the context here? The context is that you understand that what we're looking for above all else is to see a pivot. What is a pivot? A bull pivot means that this line is falling, right? So this pink line goes from falling and turns to rising, right? So this is a momentum-based pivot on what's called full vibration, right? The other level is going to be FSR, which is that purple line. And of course, we would like to see it either above that level, meaning pivot. Now, there's a whole other signal here where if this thing goes below 30, that is called a full reset. There are plenty of signals within that I look for. Those are on other videos that already exist, and you can watch them. But for the purpose of this video, we're mainly going to focus on this pivoting, bull pivoting, being above that pink level, and that pink level mostly being above 60, certainly when it's above 50. I will talk about some of the bear side as well, but you'll see what I mean in a moment. There is significant edge once this thing goes above 60, okay? Let's just jump in with an example. First of all, yes, that is a qualified daily signal, which gives you great signal anyway, but to add on to that, what can you see? You see that right here in this moment, this has bull pivoted above 60. Above 60, that line's already marked off for you. And this FSR also bull pivoted above 60. Great. That's our signal right there. You get about 5 to 6 days of a run. Maybe you only wanted to trade it for one day. You do what you want. I'm just pointing it out so you have an understanding of what took place. And there's going to be an ad right here. I started off with this one intentionally. In case anyone was wondering, you think, hey, he's going to start off with the best trade ever. Wrong. I'm going to start off with a loss, which happens right there. And I want people to see that. Why? Because you're going to lose trades. That's going to happen. But you're going to see this edge with your own eyes within about 5 minutes or less. And you're going to start to realize, like, wait a second, there's something going on here that I didn't realize before and I didn't even know was possible. Okay? So why do I show you this one? Because you're going to lose trades. Because this is an ad. This is something I will take every time, happily, with a smile. Are there things I could have seen here? Yes, there were some things that I could have seen here. But hey, this is just a little bit trappy. It happens. You had a little bit of a failure. You could see things kind of continue to mosey on up. So we're still happy to continue to take our edge to the next trade, the next trade after that. But absolutely, if you entered here, you're happy for a day, and then you got flushed out. It happens. Take your loss like a man, move on to the next, okay? So what happens, though? This is an important spot because ultimately we went from a position where we were above 60 and pivoting to breaking that level, right? Well, when that happens, when FSR is below, those are your contraction periods. Those are your consolidation periods, right? Those are your compression periods, right? We don't want anything to do with them on this scale. Maybe on the lower time frame, we'll go and find the reason. But if this thing's hanging down below this 50 level, this is exactly the time that we want to be out, right? We're waiting to see this guy recross up here. So it does recross up here. This isn't that 60 trade, but it would technically be a qualified trade based on the last video. And I will tell you this, 60 is the number we're using for this video, but 58 is better than 55. What do I mean by that? Let's just kind of turn this on. You see, oh, it was on. You see this number right here? When I put this here, you're going to look at the second number. That's the full vibration. That's 58.41. So yeah, it's not 60, but even though this doesn't run anywhere fast, I will tell you that I'm always taking that signal, right? I'm happy to take it in that situation. And then it's not a loss because you still coast on. So this actually ends up being a good trade anyway. But guess what happens? I showed you this area to start with for a reason. These are the complicated structures that will happen, and you'll expect it somewhat. You're expecting the complicated structure until you get this guy come up for a little bit of a test and then go again, right? That's what you want to see. This is like that ultimate setup. So the real patient wants to look like that, but don't worry about it. Take them all, I promise you, and you'll see what I mean. Okay, here we go. Now we can kind of jump into it because I wanted to show you some a little bit of a messed up ordeal for a minute there. Now, by the way, notice there was no real pain involved in that. We had a huge win followed by some small losses. Really one small loss, which is fine. But anyway, back to business, and guess what we get? We get a signal right there. What do you mean? Well, you pivot it right here. We jump back above. We're rising. That's exactly what we want. So we waited out the nonsense of the complicated range. We let it do its thing. We jump back in, and now we're in to enjoy the ride. But guess what happens here? Another pivot right there. Well, this is absolutely a spot to add. I will take every one of these when I have this thing above 60 and a bull pivot. I'm happy to add. I'm happy to add again and again and again. Now, by the way, you see this pattern? This is another video, but if you get a head and shoulders type of formation with your FSR, yeah, you're probably going to be pretty interested in that. But that's another video, so we won't get into that right now. And we do see that yet again, you get another ad right there. So this is a build-up pattern. This is ideal. It's exactly what we want to see. This is a scenario where price just can't help but rise. And yes, you're now participating in an absolute runner, which is exactly the point of this video, is to show you how do you find these runners, right? Now, I'm going to take a little bit of a break and come back to this because I do want to show you something very quickly. You know what? I'll show you in a minute. Let's not break the momentum here, okay? I'm going to show you something from Discord in a minute so that we can see where we came from. All right, here we go. Right there, another ad. Why? Because we bull pivoted above this rising 60. So wait till that next one. There's the pivot. We're in. And look what happens. No surprise. It runs up for several days, right? Happens again. Now we did come back for a little bit of a retest of that level. We wait for the bull pivot. Is it rising? Yes, it is. Full vibration's rising. If you don't believe me, we can zoom in. You can also look at the number, make sure that it's above the previous one. Makes sense to me. Guess what? You catch that little one. Now, again, once again, maybe at the end here, you got caught. You also had 4 wins in a row, and you were probably riding the first win all the way to the top. But you would have got caught on that scale. Now, I don't always say, hey, watch everything on the daily scale, but it is what it is for this video. Let's just act like it did. And let's say that you got caught on that last one, and we're adults. That happens. You just made a bunch of money. You should be happy, so don't worry if you do get caught on one. And then we enter our complicated range again. Why? FSR is below our 50 level. It's doing the thing that it needs to do. We'll wait. We'll watch. But guess what? We get a qualified daily long signal right there. Whether you decided to take it or not is up to you, because this was a little bit of a steep formation, and sometimes these will result in a more complicated range. And in fact, this ends up being a little bit more complicated over time. It just was a slow runner to get back over there. But ultimately, we recross right here. This would have been the 50 signal from the last video, not this one, but it would have been a win nonetheless, which we'll show. And then I'll show you that as well right here, because that is now that 58 type of scenario. I'll point it out when it's 16 above, just so you know, which is right there for another signal. Right there. And of course, what do you get? 4-day runner. Very happy with that. I'm happy to point this one out as well, because it again is one that gets you caught. It's going to happen, guys. You're going to have some of these add-ons, and sometimes you'll see, wow, maybe I shouldn't do the add-ons because of that. Well, just keep in mind, we added on about 8 times, and we've seen about 2 or 3 losses, and the wins were much bigger than the losses themselves, right? So definitely you want those. And then, of course, we get a nice little bit of a reset, and we're back in with a new long right there, and we're going to ride that all the way up. And you can see these are runners, right? These are significant moves. And we haven't even started to get into the real big ones. Those are coming in a moment. But guess what happens? Pivot. A couple days later, you get another entry. Happy to take it. A little bit of a pullback. We're waiting. We're waiting. Entry right there. All well. Another winner. Guess what? Complicated reset, but we have nothing to do with that because it broke our levels and we're just watching. Watch, 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 watch. Maybe we took one of these. By the way, always feel free to take these qualified daily long signals. And this is a qualified signal because it's a reset. That's from another video, but you want reset, up, right? And then reset again. So anything that happens in this reset, as long as these are above this one, even if this one's a loser, the next one still counts. In fact, I'm more interested in taking it because now the complicated formation that we were looking at is getting a little bit longer in the tooth. We just had one recently on Bitcoin that was 3 of these signals, and that third one in that progression ends up giving you like the absolute low of the runner to the highs, which is a great thing. So this is a simple formula that gives you this, but it's one that does pretty well. Story short, though, there's better ways, of course, right? So we could have waited until we got this divergence in place with that signal. So yeah, we're very happy about that when that occurs. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to focus on these levels above 60, which happens right there. So this is yet another signal right there. We don't worry about the things we miss. We're just wondering how did we do on the ones that we played, right? We end up going in here again. Do you get stopped on that one? Hard to say, depending on, I don't know. We'll see. I'll call it a loss anyway. Let's just, if it's close, call it a loss. Another entry here, and now you kind of, this is the good thing because you probably saw I intentionally picked a complicated area in terms of the weekly scale so that we would get chopped up a little. That was intentional so I could show you some problems, but we are entering a stage. I'll just tell you, we're going to get into crazy town now, and you're going to see why this has such a significant edge to it. Right there's your entry. You see where you go. I mean, literally, there wouldn't have been any idea or thought of exiting this until this particular level. But then along the way, you got add with divergence, by the way, bullish divergence with your add, so you're happy with that as well, and you get 4 more days of the run up. Then you get a reset, jump back in right there. If not, it's the next candle, but you get the point. I need to get my arrow. And I'm going to run through this now because I don't want this to go so long. Significant divergence with an add with the daily qualified signal. Runs for a few days and then kind of flattens out. So this one probably wouldn't have given you too much. Another signal on the add right. If you guys don't, you can always pause this if you think I give you some misinformation there. Check for yourself. Right there is where we go back over 60. This is what I'm looking at. And that first pivot on FSR is right there. Again, feel free to take notes, write this stuff down. I obviously highlighted this in the previous video where we got another add right there. So another 4 or 5 days. And again, these are sizable moves. Sometimes you'll see it all pressed together in the format that I have it here, but it's still stretching there, right? That's a stretch higher in that particular formation, which gave you the long right there. So you did have that 6-day stretch before reversing. And then, of course, remember, when FSR comes back down here, that's our consolidation period. We're sitting that out. We're not worried at all. We're at the beach, right? We're doing something different. And we're waiting for this guy to climb back above 50, which it does, and then pivot right there. So this would have been that first signal above 50 after that consolidation, which is right there. It's not one of the 60 signals. It's one of the 50 bullish signals from the last video, but it is pretty high up there. You're talking about the 58 range, which again, those have significant edge, and you basically lead your way out. This would be like phase D of a Wyckoff structure for those that understand that. You don't need to understand that, so don't worry if you don't. All right, then right there you go again. Right there you go again. Right there you go again. You see how many we're hitting in a row, guys? Right there you go again for a few days, and finally you get some chop action, a little bit of a failure pattern. No big deal. It's just going to reset. Things hold pretty damn well. You get a qualified long that just rips right higher. And then back to the video that we're watching right now, you cross 60 again right there. You can go to the lower time frames and look for an entry instantly when that happens. But if we're doing daily scale, we wait for that pullback and that advance. That's that pivot right there. Look at this pivot. What the heck did that just give you? That gives you an $8,200 entry, and you're basically running straight up to 17.7, right? So yeah, I'll take a double on Bitcoin. Right there's a new entry on the way up. Right there's another new entry on the way up. You can see the divergence coming in before that all-time high, right? But still, I'm sure we get bit here somewhere. There's an entry. There's an entry, right? I would keep her. Why wouldn't I? That just because of that, I'm still happy to go along with it, even if I get bit. Now, obviously, a little bit of a failure, and then ultimately you get stopped out on that one. And I'm okay with that. Now, this is such a key element, right? That I want to show you because this is interesting. Because eventually we're going to make our way back above the 60 level. But remember, especially anyone that's seen True Vibration videos, it's all about market structure first always. That's my motto with all of my trading, right? Market structure first always. If I'm in a downtrend, right? If I'm not making higher highs and higher lows, I'm not looking for anything over 60 anyway. I mean, for that, I'm looking at things that are below 50 to short them, right? Based on market structure. So the moment this structure breaks down, which is here, this is such a clear break in structure, right? That you're in such a situation that, oh, okay, now I'm below 50. That's why that box is there, right? In this situation, first of all, you're sitting here and you say, oh, okay, well, this is a qualified short right there. This is a qualified short right there, a perfect one, by the way. We start moseying our way up. There might be some longs in there, but not on the daily scale. And then eventually you break that 50 line again. And again, you got qualified short, qualified short. This one didn't do much. It was a qualified short, but didn't do much. Not to mention the fact that you have daily scales with the other system in place, qualified short at the perfect pivot, of course, because they typically are. Another qualified short right there based on that scale. Look, this is a qualified short that's a loser, right? But then it follows you up with a couple beautiful winners right there, right? Just like that and that. So that's the idea of this, that even when they lose, don't worry. Take your loss. Take the next one for sure when it's qualified, because if it hangs out in that structure, that just means it's putting in some divergence, and you're probably going to get a better signal at the end, which gives you that, right? So again, I'm switching things up on you a little bit. I did want to bring up this section right here because it went above 60. So you might have gotten a little jumpy and said, hey, maybe this thing's about to jump start again, right? Well, first of all, we didn't see a break in structure, right? So you would have needed to see this make that higher high, and you want it to come back for a lower high, or excuse me, a higher low before you're getting involved in that. But I get it. You know, look, we We learn rules like a pro and break them like an artist. Maybe you're looking to break a rule. If it happens, it happens. You jumped in, and the moment it failed, you got out. That's okay. I mean, how many winners in a row did we just show? If that happens, just jump out, right? But structurally, just being very straightforward with you, you wouldn't have been looking for a long in that situation. You're looking for shorts. And that goes on and on and on. We see that continue short, 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 short. Right? This continues on. You see these are qualified shorts, qualified short, qualified short, qualified short, qualified short because of market structure. Not only qualified, but these are perfect pivots that these are occurring at. And this happens from you get that qualified short at 6,400. This thing dumps to 3,100. But life begins to change now, right? This looks like a perfect signal. It is not a qualified signal, right? It's market structure first always. You don't get that until here, and then this one even fades. But that's okay. Just based on everything else we already explained, you're still going to be on guard because now we do see what? Higher low come in. Higher low. Interesting. We're waiting on the higher high, but now we are seeing the possibility of that change in structure. I have this area highlighted because I was one of the few people on planet Earth that was so bullish during this time. People were ragging on me on Twitter, etc. Why was I so bullish? This is why. Exactly the point of this video that I'm explaining to you. Now we started to flex up on 60, but we had our higher low. That's when we say, oh, that's when we're interested, right? Notice that before that 4,000 boom candle, what do? We're back above 60, right? But regardless, even if we were patient with it and we wanted to get some clarity, waited for the higher high, that's a good idea. Nothing wrong with that at all. Then your signal would have been right there, not to mention a daily qualified signal if you can't see it, which is right there as well, which was a good one, not to mention the fact that you had a daily qualified signal right there as well, right there. If you don't see it, I'll zoom in. It's right there, 5 days before the boom candle. You love that. And ultimately, everything that we're using on this system, long. I'm going to fly through these, right? Because you know what the longs are again. Long, right? A couple of them might have got stopped out along the way. I haven't seen them yet, but these have been all winners. But long, right? This goes on till 14,000. And for the greater part of it, you were absolutely long from high threes to 14,000, right? But then there's a change again. And that change happens right there where we lose that 50 level. We're on guard again, right? Now, this one might have been a little tricky area where you said, all right, well, if I can get a reset, I'm going to go long again. But it didn't happen, right? It didn't happen. You never got that reset. You never rose again above that level. So you would have went to short mode for sure. And there would have been qualified short, system short that we're talking about today, system short that we're talking about today. Again, pause it if you don't see it, but you'll see it when I do it. And then ultimately, you end up in a situation to where way forward, I'm going to go ahead and kind of wrap this thing up and just show you a couple more examples here. But then as we went in my opinion, this was going to be the start of the bull market. I will never know, so it doesn't matter. COVID came in, right? But guess what? What I love about this is, in my opinion, this is the start of the bull market because this is exactly the setup that you see, where you see good structure, going with good vibration, everything smooth that we want to see, huge run up, right? We went up to 10.5. Normally this will peel back, hold, and go, right? Well, something different happened, and it shows up in full vibration, right? We're in our complicated reset, but something happened. Suddenly now price is failing too. Well, that happens sometimes during a reset. That's okay. Everything was fine until we break that 50 line. Oh, not fine. Not only is it not fine, we're looking for shorts, right? We're looking for shorts, and guess what? Huge bear divergence that comes into play. Local high, this is a short for sure, right? And a qualified short based on exactly the system that we're talking about long before the mega dump down to 3,600. So even that gives you the dump from 8,000 to 3,600. Obviously, you wouldn't have timed it perfectly, but you get the point. And then what happens? Time compression. In my opinion, this is a compressed market. This is why I was uber bullish here and said 14,000 this year minimum. That's why over here I said 60,000 because of that belief. But more importantly, look where the vibration's at, right? At this point, that's why I have it marked off. We're back into above 60 type signals, right? We had to wait it out, by the way. You see this complicated format. Again, you wouldn't even have sweated any of this long formation because this thing is downtrending. FSR is down here. There's no signals at all, right? You're in a good spot. It does leap up. You would have caught some of that leap up. And it gives you one more slow process that, again, you would not have participated in because there's no signal here until when? Until this level. And I'll fly through this again so that we can wrap this guy up because I got to imagine you've already seen that there's tremendous edge here. We're back above 60 right there finally. And now all of these pivots, again, we're taking every single one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you might say, whoa, and that's a loss, by the way. It happens. I can live with that loss, right? Back in again. Look at where you get back in. After that loss, you wait through the complicated structure, you're back in there. By the way, along the way, I will go ahead and just cheat and show you something else. The reason why we always take these qualified daily signals is this reason. 1, 2, 3. See how they're all higher? 3 in a row. See how they're the perfect pivot? Also 4 in a row, 5 in a row. It's not always going to work out that way. This is 1, 2, by the way. It's just the way the count back works, but we won't count it. 6 in a row, 7 in a row. Even the last one to the lower highest, they always take 8 in a row there. I think it was actually 11 if I go back a little bit further. But the point is, 11 daily scale perfect pivot longs doesn't happen often. That's the key here. We're trying to find the timing, right? That's the idea. And it takes a lot of time for you yourself to get it. You can get it with this tool, I promise you. But it is going to take time, and it's something that you have to see with your own eyes and learn. But until then, just follow the rules, right? The rules are going to give you enough edge so that it works out for you, okay? Now, where were we? Very quickly. Those are the daily qualifieds. That's a little bit different subject, but here we go. Boom, boom, boom again. Right there again. This is an over 50 signal, not an over 60. We're back over 60 again, and now we got another entry, another entry, another entry. You know, most people are like, oh, I'm not entering during this time. Why not? Well, if I'm in a runner and I know my vibration is just booming, of course I'm willing to enter those, especially trade number 8. If I lose trade number 8 in a row, who cares, right? Why would I care if I entered here and I lost that one, trade number 8? No, pretty good. I'm in profit on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I probably didn't even take profits on a run like that. I'm probably 7 positions in to a winner, and technically the little tip of the 8th loss. I mean, that's a dream scenario. If I win 35% of my trades, I would easily make money, right? With this, you could see that you're getting a significantly higher percentage because we're in a crazy market. And on top of that, but you're also getting the runners. What do I mean by that? I want to show you something. I pointed this out in the last video. I'm only showing you this so that no one says it's BS, right? So back in December of last year, excuse me, December of last year. I don't even know what year it is. I put out a list. We call them price action longs, right? Just so you know, I'll skip the surprise. The majority of what I base that list off is exactly what I taught you today. You know, that's what I'm finding it off. Now, there's some extra pieces in there that I'm looking at, but this is the majority. And as you can see, put these on your list, and you're in good shape when the signal comes. Now, what can I show? That's January 18th. I'm trying not to show too much of other people's information on accident. I don't really know how to do that. I have a December one here, but everyone's information shows up. It doesn't even matter. Let's just use this. January 4th is fine. Just showing you I'm not making stuff up. This is January 4th. We said, look, quick recap. I'm likely to buy the next bullish engulfing Bitcoin, ETH, FTT, LTC, Sushi, DOT, Uniswap, Rune, and Doge, though I hate to include it. We also put Algo and KSM on that particular one. The FTT and those were back in December as well, as I mentioned. And then we had on the 18th, we add it. I don't know if I'm going to have all that here because I'm probably going to mess something up for sure. Man, if you guys are still there, I don't know what just happened to my computer. I probably just overloaded the memory there. So hopefully it was still recording, and hopefully you're still there. Regardless, I think you kind of seen what I wanted to show you, and I don't want to mess up anything else here, so I'm not going to even try to show the rest. The key is that there's plenty of people that can verify what I'm talking about, that I gave these lists out. And the reason I'm showing you that is that what you can see is we're marking off some of these, right? Because I just told you I made this video a half hour ago anyway. And what happens? Look at the runs. These are the runs of the run. Let's take them off log, by the way. Look at the runs that we're talking about on these particular charts. And what I said very clearly, and again, it was a small group, but a few hundred people can still vouch for the fact that all of them just ran, right? I'll show you SHIB in a minute. But all of them just went from the same setup. You might say, well, all of went. No, yeah. But these were the ones that went within the ones that went. You know what I mean? Like, they really went. I mean, you could see what took place here was insanity, right? Soul, $2. That's when we gave out Soul, right? And it says that I'm cool and I'm better. You know, Phantom, 3 cents, right? At 3 cents is when and what do they all have in common? That 60 level. Once they went over that 60 level, that's when they were in that position. This thing went from 3 cents to $3. I mean, give me a break, right? You have Sushi, right, which has been a dog lately, but back then you could see what it did. you're in a position again on this one. Again, don't look at them on log because it kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. But again, all that is, it's going over that 60 mark. And what happens? Boom, right? When that vibration's over 60, good things can happen. Now, can you still have resistance there? Yeah, I want people to understand that. You could still have resistance. It may resist. It may take some time. It may never go, right? Like Litecoin didn't go very hard at all after the initial signal. It still did well, but I mean, compared to some of these others, it just didn't do it, right? So you're in that situation. Now, when you notice, there wasn't like Ripple on that list or anything like that. I mean, eventually it made it, but not in the beginning of that time. But you see something like Polkadot, we're talking $4 to $40, right? This is an insane type of run. And then I said even Doge, right? So even Doge, and here we are way back here on these microscopic times, right? This is, we're saying January 4th, right? I hate to admit it. And there it is. First of all, that's the qualified long. But regardless, we're in a situation to where we're talking about somewhere about 0.0099, right? And you guys know, it went to like 80 cents, right? So that's the idea. And by the way, the other key element that once the thing goes on, we talk about it, that it stays on until the market structure changes. What do I mean by that? When I make a list like that, until the market structure itself breaks down, you're still looking for reasons to long. Why do we do that? Because even this signal still gives you something decent. Like, you see what I'm talking about? Like, the market structure was clearly breaking down, but even that last run into the failure is going to be a decent signal. You wouldn't have been anything to do with that because I've already showed you the rules of how that would work. But you can understand that even still, because who am I to say that this thing doesn't have yet another leg or an extended fifth or whatever it might be? So that's the concept behind it, because it still would normally have enough gas for at least a winning trade. And sometimes it's a lot more than you expected. Oh, that's something completely different. It's my own toy. Anyway, other than that, I think you guys get the point. Significant edge there. You can contact me, direct message me on Twitter. It's a slow response type of thing. I have one person that kind of responds to them. I won't lie to you. A lot of people that contact me seem to make it much more difficult than it needs to be. And ultimately, I got to take you through some questions, make sure that we're protected legally, etc. As I mentioned, you will not pay me anything for this. So anyone that asks you for money, just know that's not me. Has nothing to do with it. But ultimately, if you're interested in that, you can. But if you're not interested, again, just look for edge. Just try to start thinking a little bit different, a little bit smarter. Work smarter, not harder. Do the research. Win the battle in your research. You know what I mean? Then from there, you're going to put yourself in a better position. Like something like a directional bias indicator that I can mention to you guys. Let me see if I have that chart up. If you guys want to take off, you can ultimately. But I just want to give a couple people an idea here on something like a directional bias indicator and what the purpose is of this thing. Because this is also built in to true vibration. Now I'm going to show you something like on a crazy 5-minute chart here, which is insane, but you'll get the gist of it here in a second. Let me just I have it here. I'm just now bringing it up. Yeah, 5 minutes way too stressful. All right, so this is a 30-minute chart. Let me let it load. So everything else on the screen, I'm sure, is going to look nuts here as I bring this to you right there. But this is built into the indicator, and I just want people to see this, right? So these lower time frames under the 5 minute are going to look crazy, but you can choose these individually on a 5 minute, 10 minute, 15 minute, and it's just going to give you directional bias for that particular time frame and say 2 to 6 time frames below it, right? So if I was on a daily, I'm probably looking at a 12-hour, 6-hour, or 4-hour, right? 2 to 6 time frames below it. If I was on a 30-minute, I'm probably looking at a 5 or 10-minute type of chart. So what you'll see is, you see how they all go green and then you get that leg up, right? Now, sometimes it doesn't happen because there's a resistance, and that's a signal too. But you see they all go green again and then leg up. This is a significant help. And then as the other time frames go green, again, this is going to give you more intel to understand that now you have the higher time frame players on your side as well that are probably looking at something similar because their TA is telling them the same thing, to go in that direction. Again, these lower ones are going to be a little spooky looking because of the 30-minute. If I was on the 5-minute, believe it or not, be a little more clean, but I don't think it's going to allow me to go back that far. I will try it real quick, and then we'll wrap this guy up. But as I mentioned, other than that, if you could like the video, that'd be cool. If you want to share it with others, that'd be cool as well. Check out Prime. They've been good to me. And let's see, can I find it? Yeah, it worked out. All right, so here we are. We're almost there. When you're going back on the 5-minute chart, it's not exactly easy, But we get our breakout, and what happens? Everything goes green, right? Everything goes green. And we're in a position now to where we understand that we're only looking for longs on that time frame or time frames that are 2 to 6 lower. Now, you don't have to. You could break those rules. You can counter trend. You can do those type of things as long as you know how. But if you're not a winning trader, why? Why would you possibly think of doing that? There's certainly going to be more edge, and that's the purpose of this, in going with these active green signals, right? Now, I'll tell you, there's something beyond active green, which is ultimately the last green, right? That's a whole nother ball game, and there's videos on that. But that also gives you edge to understand, like, hey, this thing is going to switch at some point. We're just in a pullback on a lower time frame. But you can see, like, you get this heavy, high time frame active greens. Yes, a leg up is likely to come in that situation. And you'll notice also on the flip side, if we can make it there, that it'll work the other way as well. When you start seeing like, okay, well, look, the active greens have disappeared and suddenly we have some red, we got a problem, right? And that was before the market structure actually broke down. You wouldn't have known it too much. And then you start seeing some of that red creep in, and now we're going to leg lower a little bit. Some of these lower time frames tried, but you can see what happens here, 30-minute, 1 hour, 2 hour, and it's a decent little pullback. Now, I wouldn't be countering the higher time frame myself unless I was looking for scalps, but that's one of the purposes where people would use it for scalping. But the point is that you can work a lot smarter by having the information and understanding, like, guess what? If they're all green, right, it's not going down, right? It's not going to work that way. It's not that it's impossible, and I should be a little bit careful in how I put it, but you'll have times when literally all of these are green. Of course, it's a free trade. I mean, it really is for the most part. It doesn't mean 100x free trade. It just means, like, use your normal managed risk and know that you have significant edge in that situation, because it's pretty unlikely that that thing's going to reverse on you in that instant, right? It's not something that's usually going to happen. Just like something like today when you had some significant reversals, it's not happening in the face of a bunch of green. It just doesn't happen in that environment. They wouldn't be able to push it down in that environment, right? So in this environment, you're in a situation where 4 hours actually active red when that took place. So that mega dump could have easily been played. Now, that doesn't mean it happened because this was actively red, but it does mean that this certainly had the power, right? That the low time frames were on the side of the 4 hour and lower. So in that situation. So again, that's a whole nother thing to learn. There's other videos on that, but I'm just trying to add one little thing on the end here just to help people understand that you can absolutely work smarter, not necessarily harder. I'm out for now. Hope you guys are doing well. We'll talk soon. I'm going to start doing some live videos as well. I'm going to create a room. I have a room on Telegram. I'm going to start using that a little more actively, where I'll open that up for more people to come, because most of the videos that I drop that are going to be live, I will try to announce sometime, but those videos are going to be links that I drop that are not going to be open to the entire public. They're just going to be Telegram only, and Telegram is free, of course. Okay. I'm out. Hopefully all is well. Take care.